I think in order of importance, probably the biggest is time. That I had a very busy client list, had a lot of fees to look after, and I had been, prior to the changes, busy looking after clients, so there was never any time to go and learn new areas. There was no thinking time. And it always struck me strange in an accounting practice that no one valued thinking time. They all wanted results and output. But sometimes the real value comes when you actually sit down, close the door, put your feet up on the table and think about a problem. Unfortunately, most clients will say you're busy, you're having a sleep. But that is the really valuable time. So the first thing was really understanding that time is important to think about things and to be able to retrain to do things. And then the question becomes, how do you get more time? I took a rather radical step there, and I was very much helped by my partners and some other circumstances, but I effectively divested myself of most of my clients to my other partners. What that did do was give me the time then to start changing. So I was then able to actually do two things: get out and start to reskill myself, but secondly, and just as importantly, go out and visit clients and talk to them on their premises. Because it was when you're out at the premises that you actually generate the work, not at the office. The other problem I realised fairly quickly was that you can't run in your practice your own advisory service in isolation from the rest of the compliance services, because the other partners will eventually get sick of you doing all the good work and then nothing else. So I realised that both sides were important to the practice. You couldn't change the practice to all advisory because it was a one-off assignment. People would do the work, you may do work for 2 years, they'd go away, they might come back 3 or 4 years later. But I did find that people get tired out from advisory all the time. I couldn't continually be giving advisory work because they actually needed the time to sit down and get their own business up to take the benefit of the advice and to start to generate the revenue, and then they were ready for more advisory work. So it's very much a clientele where you had to move on. We also realised that there are different business models. And I think this was a problem we had when we first started off, that we tried to run our advisory practice as we did our compliance practice. But they're different businesses and they're very hard to get the same people to do the same work. What we found was the compliance business is very much low charge rate, high productivity, it's churning work over. While an advisory business is completely the opposite. It's very much a high charge rate, low productivity, because a lot of time needs to be spent on winning work, and a lot of time needs to be spent on thinking time, as I spoke earlier, and also time on training and learning new skill sets. So the two didn't really go well together, and we found if we tried to get staff in the practice working on both jobs, it wasn't very successful. They almost had to be in the advisory business or in the compliance business. And I think ultimately we'll end up having them as completely separate divisions, but preferably still in the same office working for each other, because each of these advisory clients also has compliance work. And that was a really important part too, as we needed both sides to have a strong practice for the future.